Here's the thing that most best AI code review tools lists get wrong. They're mostly written for GitHub, and then someone quietly swaps in the word Azure DevOps and hopes nobody notices the shortlist just fell apart. But it does fall apart. Azure DevOps is a different platform for a different buyer, and if you're running it, the question you're actually asking is not the same question a team running on GitHub is asking. So let me walk you through what changes and how to pick. So when a vendor says, we support Azure DevOps, slow down and ask what that sentence is hiding. It can mean a webhook that drops a comment on a pull request, or it can mean the real thing. Here's a checklist I would hold them to. Native comments inside the Azure Repos pull request thread, not in some separate dashboard you have to go visit. Azure Pipelines integration, so the review runs as a pipeline task and posts back automatically. Azure Boards work item linking, so findings connect to the work you're already tracking. Azure DevOps Server support for self-hosted teams, and air-gapped on-premise deployment for regulated and sovereign environments. The gap between tools is narrow at the top of that list and enormous at the bottom. Almost anyone can post a PR comment. Very few can run inside a server install with no outbound internet. So let's make a quick comparison. The dedicated AI review platform here is Qodo. GitHub Copilot code review reaches Azure DevOps, but only through a GitHub integration. And it's more limited than the native GitHub experience, which is a real friction if Azure DevOps is your primary home. GrabTile and Graphite Diamond, two names you'll see all over GitHub lists, don't support Azure DevOps at all. And notice the shape of the table. Everyone clusters on the left. The shortlist collapses the moment you move right into server, air-gapped, and cross-repo. That right side is where enterprise Azure DevOps actually lives. So let's spend our time there. Every large engineering organization I've seen has the same quiet problem. The coding standards are real, and your senior reviewers apply them consistently. But the standards live in people's heads and in old PR comment threads. They're not written down anywhere a machine or a new hire can use them. So the onboarding engineer learns them the hard way. And your best reviewer leaves the same comment for the third time this month. That's expensive and it doesn't scale. Two capabilities close that gap, and they're worth understanding because most tools don't do either. The first one is mind rules. Instead of asking you to sit down and write a rulebook, the tool reads your organization's Azure DevOps PR history. It finds the comments that developers actually accepted and acted on, and it turns those into enforceable rules. The rulebook writes itself from what your team already does, and it maintains itself. If a rule keeps getting overridden, the signal fades and it drops out. The second is cross-project context. A pull request can look perfectly clean inside its own repo and still break a contract that 3 other projects depend on. Single repo review can't see that, by definition. Cross-project review maps how your repositories depend on each other, and it surfaces that break as a finding on a PR before the merge. So let's take a look at an open PR with Qodo review enabled. As I scroll down the history and take a look at the beginning, I can see that Qodo has left a summary of all of the changes that happen inside this project. Now, this is an API server project, which means that any type of change that I do is actually going to affect my web client. And it is exactly what happened. Although none of the changes that I have made it on the API server would make the API server itself break, it would create problems on my web client. And Qodo actually flags this issue. As you can see, we have a cross-repo conflict flagged, and Qodo will provide evidence and explanation of how this change will actually affect my other project. Besides that, Qodo will of course flag any of the bugs or rule violations or any problems in skills. So if you're using AI skill to generate your code and your agent is actually not doing a good job using that skill, in the review process, this problem would be revealed. When it comes to rules, this is where your standards live. This is how you set up standards for your agents, and they need to follow them. But if they don't follow the rules to the T, in your verification process, you can actually find that and flag that. Not only that, but the way you have established your standards actually lives inside your PRs, inside your past decisions. So Rule Miner can actually spot these patterns, create rules, and enforce them on your PR. This is not just flagging a bunch of bugs on your diff, it's a whole governance layer that will help you deliver high quality code at the velocity that we write it these days. Now, if you're on Azure DevOps Server, none of the earlier criteria matter until one thing is true. The tool has to run on your infrastructure. Source code can go out on a multi-tenant API. It may need to run with no outbound internet at all. You need audit logging, SSO, and compliance posture your industry demands. On server, that narrows the shortlist to Qodo. CodeRabbit and Copilot Code Review are cloud only. And this isn't theoretical at scale. A global retailer with over 14,000 developers ran Qodo air-gapped and logged more than 450,000 developer hours saved in year one across 2,000 plus repos. A financial software company with 9,000 developers runs it on-premise across 2,500 repos and reports over 100,000 hours saved a year. Those are exactly the regulated, self-hosted shops where most tools simply can't be installed. So where do you use it? Small or mid-sized team on Azure DevOps Services, one repo? Qodo gives you a native inline comments and pipelines integration. If you track work in boards, Qodo links findings to work items, so review to resolution stays on one surface. Multiple projects with shared libraries? That's the cross-project case. Qodo reasons across repos. Standards trap in your reviewer's memory? That's Rules Miner. And one more thing worth saying clearly, because it's a common mistake. AI review is a layer, not a replacement. GitHub Advanced Security for Azure DevOps handles secret scanning and dependency review. Snyk and SonarQube handle static analysis and quality gates. The AI review layer handles context-aware reasoning, Cross-Repo, and learning from your history. Most serious teams run more than one layer, and none of them replaces the others. Anyone can generate code now, and Azure DevOps teams generate a lot of it. The scarce thing was never the writing, it's trusting the change enough to ship it, especially when the change quietly touches a shared contract or a standard nobody wrote down. That's the job an AI review layer is actually for. On Azure DevOps, the list of tools that can do it on your infrastructure at your scale is genuinely short. Feel free to take a look at the comparison and the Rules Miner docs down below.